is right around the corner, and for many, it is a favorite season. It's not too hot, but also not too cool. And I have to admit, I am a sucker for fall fashion and fall flavors as well. So as the seasons change, it is a perfect time to get cozy with friends and loved ones and have a great bottle of wine to go with it. These 5 bottles pair perfectly with the seasons change, and not only are they from delicious wine regions, but also from terrific wineries as well. Each and every single one of them is special in their own way, so let's get into it. This is the Domaine de Leyre-Loup Morgon. It's from the Beaujolais region in France. Beaujolais is a wine that I often find myself gravitating towards during fall. It's a lighter style of red wine, and Morgon, the region within Beaujolais, is a great place to explore in the glass. Morgon wines, while made from Gamay Noir, often have a Pinot-like vibe to them, very reminiscent of their neighbor in the north. So let's give this wine a try. There's a beautiful, almost ruby-toned color to this, but you get these wonderful flecks of purple, which is very classic for Beaujolais. Let's get on to the nose. There's this twigginess, a little bit of nostalgic aromas of almost cherry candy. Cherry and dark berry notes, nice touches of just this earthen quality to the wine. Let's give it a taste. On the palate, this wine has a brightness of acidity. It's lifted, there's some nice structure in the tannins, but it's quite rustic, although having a heavier hand than you would expect. It's a perfect wine to go with fall roasted vegetables. This is the Bon Costa Valpolicella Classico DOC production by Massey, and it's from the Veneto region in the Valpolicella zone. Keeping those light wines rolling, Valpolicella Classico is a perfect light wine that just fits in that category. And Massey is a winery that has its roots in the Valpolicella region. Started in 1772, they really have a way of capturing the essence of the Valpolicella zone. So let's get into this wine. There's a really lovely light-toned color to this. I can see my hand through the glass, but very ruby, almost like a cherry ruby color. For the aromas, there's just some nice pepper notes, a little bit of cherry and dark berry in there. Also some dark plum and like fresh, ripe fig. But at the same time, you get a little bit of woodiness. Let's get on to the palate. I love me a light red. This is just so bright, but you get this kind of like tannic quality that leads in a bolder direction, which means that you can pair this wine with meatier dishes and it'll hold up very, very well. You know, I'm still turning on that barbecue as the summer is ending and fall is here. This is a perfect wine for that. Made from the classic blend of Corvina, Rondinella, and Malinara. This is the Romeo Farina Valpolicella Ripasso Classico Superiore. It is from the Valpolicella zone, yet again in Veneto region, Italy. You know, Valpolicella is a region that's so hard to get bored of, especially when it comes to fall, because at each level of production, you get a different spin on the wine. Ripasso is really quite unique because when it comes to the wine, it's the winemaking that makes the difference. We have the same blend, but Ripasso is a winemaking style that's almost a repass. Not wanting to waste good grape skins, producers take the Amarone macerated grape skins from that production and add them into Valpolicella Classico. Adding them in and letting them macerate adds more body, flavor, and alcohol, and voila, you have Ripasso. So let's get into this wine. You can see it's a much darker color, as it's often called a baby Amarone. You can see it's really just more of that ruby tone overall. Let's get into the aromas. See, we get some dried notes in here. Dried berries, dried plum, dried fig, little bit of Christmas spices. That's that baby Amarone edge, but still a freshness that's coming out of that. Let's get onto the palate. On the palate, this is a wine that has much more weight, much more intensity, but it's one that's very shareable. It's a beautiful compromise wine because you get this intensity and weight, but something that can also pair with both veg and meat dishes for fall. This is the Massey Campofiore IGT from the Veneto region in Italy. Whenever you see IGT, especially on a really big producer like this, it's almost like that super Tuscan vibe. This is a wine that's communicating a style of the house. While we have these classic grapes of the Veneto region in this wine, this is a wine, especially for the 2020 vintage, that had some inclusion of dried grapes. Now, let's get into the glass and see it a little bit clearly. You know, you get these wonderful ruby tones again, but it's so much darker. And there's a really almost oxidative style to this. So from the view alone, I could tell there's some oak aging on this. And on the nose, I can confirm it. There's a little bit of toast on here as well. Beautiful plummy notes. We get this almost dark berry, mysterious edge to it. But at the same time, there's like this earthen quality. This was a wine that started back in 1964, and you can really see how it's translated over time with that nose. Let's get onto the palate. On the palate, while this is a Valpolicella grape wine, I don't see it as an Amarone. I don't see it as a Ripasso. It has this inclusion of oak and toast on the palate that takes it in a totally different direction. At the same time, you get rustic tannins and a very Italian leading spice edge. This is a wine that you can put in the cellar and enjoy down the line or right now, and I highly recommend doing it with a roast. This is the Farina Amarone della Valpolicella Classico. Amarone is the jewel of the Valpolicella region, and there's no better wine for fall than an Amarone, especially by Farina, a family that has over 100 years of experience making delicious Amarone wines. Now, the interesting thing about Amarone is the way that it's made. While you use the classic blend from the Valpolicella region, this wine is done in an appassimento style. Appassimento wines like this are done with dried grapes. All of them dry for about 3 to 4 months, and then they are fermented from that dry style. Those shriveled up dried grapes go into that fermentation tank. This results in a wine that has higher alcohol, more body, more dried fruit notes, and more tannins. This is Amarone. All right, let's get into it. You can see just from the color alone, it's a lot darker. I cannot see my hand through this glass. On the nose, there is just these notes of like alcohol-soaked cherries. You get these dried fig, plum, and date notes. And there's just these wonderful Christmas spices as well. It almost smells like a really good Christmas cake. All right, let's get on to the palate. On the palate, there's nothing like Amarone. It's a bold wine, but it has a level of acidity that matches it just so perfectly. It tends to coat the palate with these silky, plush tannins that just draw you in. This is a wine that's so perfect for fall. You can have it all by itself, which I often do, especially getting cozy on the couch, or really you should pair it with a big, bold meal to match this big, bold wine. These have been your flavors for fall. All 5 wines are really summing up the essence of this season. You can just click right down below to find out where to get them. Try them all, or even just one. And I'd love to hear from you guys, so comment down below. What would you pair these wines with? What fall moments would you enjoy them with as well? I always love hearing your thoughts. Like and subscribe, and I'll be back again soon with more wines on Liquid Pleasures.